Good morning, traders. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Hope you're having a great morning. It is 8:45. 8:45 a.m. Wednesday, April 26th, just about 15 minutes after the U.S. stock market opened. And the markets are opening up just a little bit positive, very, very slightly, like 0.06, 0.01% up. Just a slight positive tone here. Of course, the news here so far today has been that the business tax will be 15% and Trump's new plan that will be unveiled soon. And we saw a little spike up in the dollar yen on the back of that news, which has sort of settled down here a little bit now. Sort of, settled down just a little bit. Hey, how's it going, Joey? J Money. Yeah, that music's nice, right? You surf. Julman, nice to see you all here. So let me give you a little review of where we're at here, at least in my own account. This is the trade idea that I had from yesterday that is just grinding out. This is the long on the pound dollar. Currently, this trade is down 10 pips, 11 pips, something like that. Stop is pretty conservative, about 30, 35 pips there. And the profit level is up just shy of this wick here that was at the top. So this wick, at least on my broker's platform, is sitting at 29.03. Stops are at 27.97. So I'm still holding on to this trade. We'll see how it plays out. If we get some nice movement to the upside here, and we start to collect 20, 30, 35, 40 pips, definitely will be a good time to move the stops up and possibly extend the profit targets to the north. The nice thing about this trade that I like is playing off the pound strength from last week. And if you look to the left here, trying to get this all centered up so it can show across the screen, but this is the daily chart on the pound dollar. If you look at my profit target here, it's basically above all these little areas of possible resistance, which is, puts us at the top of this wick that we had, 29.03, 29.04. So, and there's really not a lot of resistance to go after that for another, 100 pips or so. There's some little in-between stuff here, but nothing really serious. So this could be a potential upside in the pound dollar. Now, again, if it comes down and hits my stop at 27.97, just time to reassess, possibly get long again later on, depending on market sentiment and how things shape up. Yeah, there's really a sort of a broken trend line here. Wasn't comfortable with putting my stop down that far, unless I put a real small order on. So that's where I'm sitting with the pound dollar right now. Just sort of hanging out, letting it do its thing. I have a couple other trades running as well. Did you vote for Trump, Jason? No comment on that. Yeah. I think there's going to be good things and bad things that come out of his presidency. There's no doubt about it. Usually when they cut taxes, a big chunk like that, it comes out somewhere else, But I remain optimistic. EG, do you have a view yet? I do, actually. Hey, Shay Baby. Let's take a look at EG. I just took a short trade here not too long ago, just a few moments ago on the euro pound to the downside. I put an overextended profit target here on the euro pound. I'll just read off my points here real quickly so you can at least have them. And you can always watch this back later if you'd like. Euro pound short at 84.87. Stop at 85.27 and profit at 83.83. So these levels, especially the profit level here, I just put it down a little bit deeper. I'll drop these on the chart again so you can see it a little bit better. Now these aren't going to be exact. I'm just trying to get you a ballpark here. But again, not quite confident enough to post this as a trade idea out. It's just, I think that the bias could be starting to favor the pound slightly. We saw the euro weaken overnight, of course. euro pound tipped down a good 35, 40 pips or so. And, you know, I still think we're going to see some consolidation in this area, but you have to come to terms with things. You know, I put a smaller order. Usually I have on this trade 1.5, 1.8, something like that. And my trade size on this one, as you can probably see down here, is a 0.8. So when you rank it on your trading journal from a 0 to 10 as far as confidence, you know, this one I put somewhere around a 6-ish. So I still took the trade. I just have less risk. So it does coincide with my pound dollar long. You know, this one, if the pound dollar long continues to go up, the euro pound could push down. You know, I was teetering around with the idea of a buy on the euro dollar. We had some nice success on that just after market open, of course. Took that nice profitable trade, about 50 pips, 49 pips or so. And it's definitely come off. I'm assuming we'd have some divergence here if we're looking at our divergence strategy with the MACD and stochastics. But I wanted to bring up the Euro CAD because this one was one of the trades that I had. Let me put my order on here just to make sure. I always want to make sure we're all fully transparent here, nothing to hide. Euro CAD, before I do this, I've been looking to get long on this for a bunch of reasons. One is the euro strength, you know, that we've seen come in. The other is the trade tariffs with the Canadian lumber, you know, 20% up to 23% on lumber imports into the U.S. And if you didn't watch the stream last night, I covered it a little bit more in detail about how roughly 30% of all lumber use in the U.S. comes from Canada. And they predict for building a new house here in the U.S., it could cost as much as $3,000 more because of the higher lumber cost. Then we also have the trade issues between the U.S. and Canada with milk. So, you know, I don't like the idea of it because if you think about it, I mean, people in the U.S. here are going to be paying more for products they can get cheaper from Canada, but it's going to support U.S. lumber producers and dairy farms. So, you know, you just can't have it all, right? You can't have it all. So I still think the Canadian dollar is going to be one of the weaker pairs. This is the trade. My goal was to get down to the 1.47 or 47.10 price point to get long. I didn't think we'd get down that point based on just fundamentals. So I got in yesterday after a roughly 70 pip pullback. Let me show you this trade here. Let's do 15 minute. Here we go. So we had roughly a 70 pip pullback from the top. I wanted it to be in this area here of 47.04, which is pretty much the exact confluence of the 23.6 Fibonacci retracement of this whole move to the upside. And you can see if I toggle back to the 4 hour, this is the whole move up. I mean, this whole move on EuroCAD has been quite momentous, 850-ish pips. So I wanted to get long around 1.4704, 1.4710, even be happy with a little bit higher than that. Didn't think we were going to quite get there, so I decided to take my long trade. My stop that was hit on the EuroCAD, and again, I didn't post this as a trade idea because it was a little bit risky. Last night in the stream, this stop was at about 36, 37 pips or so. The way I called it in the trade room last night was this. Just good old-fashioned technical trading, which is most of what I do and most of what a lot of you do, I think, did not tell me that this was the right place to buy the EuroCAD, but the fundamentals of the CAD weakness and that drop of 70-some pips made it reasonable enough for me to get in there. And I put a little smaller order size on this, I believe. And you know, we broke down from the swing high back down to the swing low, you know, about another 90 pips down. So I'm comfortable with this. As the EuroCAD gets lower, I'm more comfortable to make it an official trade. Again, my number one goal on this, which I'm really not sure we're going to hit it, is to get the price action to be somewhere in here, 147.06 to 147, you know, we'll call it 15 or so. This would be a point I definitely want to be getting long. You know, are we going to push down another 70-some pips? I don't know for sure. But I still like EuroCAD to the upside for a lot of reasons. And mainly the CAD weakness. So that's what I have going on right now. Got a long on the EuroCAD. I'm not going to be touching the dollar CAD here. I know the dollar has caught a little bid. I mean, let's look at the dollar index. The dollar index has caught a little bid here from the bottom. 98.63 was where this swing low was back here on March 27th. If you can bear with my charts flipping around here. March 27th, we put that swing low on the DXY, which is the US dollar index. The US dollar index pierced below that a couple of times, got rejected, and now we caught a bid back up to 99. I don't think we're going to see this move continue up on the DXY. And again, do we know for sure? Of course not, but it's just my opinion. I think the dollar index is going to continue to push lower, which is going to help the pound dollar go up, the euro dollar go up. Our poor Aussie, not sure about that one. Last night, we had a little bit of fun. I'd call it fun anyway, in the live stream. I was holding a trade long on the Aussie dollar right up to about 2 or 3 minutes before the news came out. The CPI news came out of Australia. And we were saying, should we gamble? Should we gamble? Should we leave it? So I stood my ground and did what a good, consistent trader would do and got out of the trade. And it popped up 15, 16 pips. And then it continued to unravel ever since. So I'm happy that I didn't do the gambling, but it was a good little lesson to show people, if you want to be a consistent trader, you got to trade what's reproducible and consistent and something that you can repeat. And for me to be sitting ahead of CPI news with the trading environment just the way it is something that I can't repeat very easily in the future. So I got out, and I think I got out -1 pip. Not bad at all. Happy with that. It was sort of fun. Today, we have crude oil inventories coming out at 9:30 in about 30 minutes. Then we have Governor Lowe speaking out of Australia. That's tentative. And then we have the big news out of the Japanese yen currency out of Japan later this evening. That's coming up around almost 11 p.m. Central Time. The policy rate and outlook report are always tentative, but they're somewhere in that ballpark. There's some places you can go online if you're really concerned about the tentative news that we see come out of Japan and especially out of China. China's sort of notorious for not having times on their news, which can definitely affect the Australian currency. But there's websites you can find out there where you can see what time the news has come out, every month for the last few years, and you can get a window where usually the news release will be out there. You just want to be safe. Of course, we have the Euro news Thursday morning. Before my live stream, we have the minimum bid rate and the press conference. So some big shakeup coming in the Euro probably tomorrow, about 24 hours from now, a little bit under that. Trump has been pretty quiet. He's got obviously his tax thing going on, which is huge. But in the Twitter feed, he's just talking about how slow the growth is and trade deficits and things like that. Let's take a look. I haven't looked at the chat a lot. Sorry. U.S. Mexican. You know what? Steady 69. U.S. Mexican is one of those pairs I've never even pulled up on my charts. Never traded it. The traders that I talk with and the people that I've learned from over all these years, the rooms I've been in, the courses I bought, all the stuff, I just don't know of anybody that has traded the U.S. Mexican. Now, I know there's a lot of traders that do it, but it's just one of those pairs I just choose not to watch for a lot of reasons. And one of them is just uncertainty. I'm just not comfortable with it. But I know that there's been some news, of course, coming through that way. Let me just see this message here. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I'm mixed on U.S. Mexican. I wouldn't be able to tell you buy or sell. EuroCAD, Shea Baby. Yeah, we just covered that. Jason, how you can numbers on the chart? Any indicator or broker tool on your money? How can you put numbers on the chart? I'm not sure what you mean about that, CRISPR, about how you can get the numbers on the chart. Do you mean these numbers here? If so, if you can see my chart here, you have the thumbs up, you have the stop sign, the check mark. It's called the left price or right price label. So you could put this little X up here if you wanted. And I do have a drawing tool as well. That's really nice. It's got a whiteboard and it lets you draw on the charts. But I have my recording software just set to record the flat screen. That's why if I pull up my order, my terminal, or even my ticker, you can't see any of it right now. It just makes it easier and more clean for me. It's always centered in the same place. What's your take on the greenback after Trump's tax reduction? I think the dollar should get stronger. However, I'm very, bearish on the U.S. dollar. So my overall opinion on the dollar index is that we're going to see it push lower. It's always nice to look at the daily chart, though, and not forget where we are. We touched this level on the DXY, 98.66. We're also in this area here of price consolidation or accumulation here, which could lead to be a little bit of support on the DXY. And then if you look way out, this is the weekly chart. So I think the dollar index has room to go to the south side. The tax reform, though, in my opinion, should help the U.S. dollar. So, take it for what it is. I mean, my bias technically is to the south side. We know Trump wants a weak dollar. But the overall tax reform, the tax changes, could lead to a short-term strengthening of the DXY. So, it's got to take it. I mean, there's reasons to be on both sides. So my overall bias is to the south, that the dollar index will weaken. There are two hammers on the 30-minute. Got it. Euro USD. UAK pen. Yeah, thanks for posting that link. I read, I think, in a chat, UAK pan, that you don't want to reboot your computer because you said your browser is giving you an issue. You could also try a different browser too. Just open instead of Chrome, use Firefox or Edge or whatever's out there these days. Aussie dollar long scalp. I don't like that at the moment. Aussie dollar long scalp. There's one big reason, and I think it's pretty apparent. If you go on the 4-hour time frame, and you can pick the time frame, doesn't have to be exactly 4 hour. And the daily here. This black line is the last known support that lives for the Aussie dollar, at least for a while. And we broke through that. You can see where we are in the daily. This is the swing low, 74.72, 74.73, and we're currently at 74.68. There's a lot of downward pressure on the Aussie dollar. Could it be a short-term scalp to the upside? Maybe. I just wouldn't take it right now. I mean, we just basically broke. I know I don't pull up the 1-minute chart very much. I did last night with the Aussie news because it's just more exciting to look at. But if you think about it, we had 74.72, 74.73 as the longer-term support on the Australian US dollar. We impulsively broke that, if you want to call it that. I mean, this is a 1-minute time frame, but we broke through. Then the markets did what they're supposed to do. Push back up, retested that area, which this support area here became resistance. The black line, which is the longer term, came up and then continued downward. So if you were going to take a long-term scalp, I think the time might be expired. The next level of support, obviously, is just this really, really recent swing low, 74.64, which is only, 3 pips away. So, I'm very, very bearish on the Aussie dollar right now. The Aussie in general. And if you take a look at this may help you just a little bit as well to get some extra clarification. The Australian and the New Zealand currencies are the weakest all the way across the board. So if you feel, as I do, that the DXY or the US dollar index could fall and get weaker, maybe selling the Aussie dollar isn't the best trade. Maybe you'd rather be long on something like the Euro Aussie or the pound versus the Aussie. So part of being a good trader and taking, every little bit percentage-wise advantage if you can over the markets is to try to pick, the strongest and the weakest pairs against one another. And if we are going to see the US dollar possibly weaken now, we'll see it only is weaker on this little 5-minute indicator here. Maybe trading the Aussie versus the pound or the Euro Aussie long, pound Aussie long would be a better trade to play on the Aussie weakness. Because again, I foresee the US dollar weakening. I think the yen is going to continue to weaken. The yen's been weak basically the last few days. And you can see on the 1 hour here. And again, if you're newer to this, Andrew had this coded. I think it's a great little indicator here. It does a lot of good just for a quick snapshot of the markets. This line is the 20 moving average for all the currencies, and this is the divergence from that price. So we have the Aussie, which is yellow, pushing down the fastest and the hardest, which means the Aussie is weakening the most. And we have the white, which is the pound, strengthening more, closely followed by the Canadian dollar. So that's my take on Aussie buck. I would be only selling this pair. If you're a little leery on the volatility of the US dollar right now, take it against something like the Euro Aussie instead to the upside. Trump needs to open up his mouth. It's been long since he uttered strange things. That's right, Bangash. Nice. In the beginning, I was confused about US dollar Mexican pips. That's right. If you're trading something that you're not familiar with, this is a really good point. US dollar Mexican, if you're trading the Polish currency, if you're trading gold, crude, something like that, definitely trade it first in a demo account. If you trade it in a demo account, you'll at least learn to see what the pip value is. Most of the brokers have it listed on their website, but sometimes it's a little hard to understand. So definitely try it out in a demo account. Worst case scenario, put the smallest possible lot size order you can, because they go to extra decimals on some of these, and it is tricky. Let's see. Drillman, trade Mexican up, good. Joe, you've been scalping it up like a winner? You should post your scalping trades. Aussie, New Zealand, we'll take a look at that. Smelly Rats, long pound, Aussie from 1.7, nice one. Euro dollar. Yeah, the indicator, if you're looking for that, it's right here in the room, RSA FX. You just click under FX propulsion strategy. It should be right below my video here in the chat room. You see the tabs, trade ideas, top trader contest, FX propulsion strategy. If you click on that, you can download it. You can watch a video tutorial from Andrew and get some PDF downloads that show you how to install it and actually what it all means. So let's take a look at Aussie, New Zealand, and the Euro dollar. We'll take a look at those next. Euro Aussie's looking good to the upside still. Aussie weakness. Pound dollar's coming back around. Euro CAD hanging right at break even. I was tempted to get in the pound yen earlier, but I just didn't want to get in right at the very top here. But let's take a look at Aussie, New Zealand next. That was the next one that was asked. Let me get rid of this thing here. Come on, buddy. There we go. Aussie, New Zealand. One of the reasons that I don't trade the Aussie, New Zealand very often, we took a couple trades, a couple winners here in the past, nothing too big. But I haven't had any losers on the Aussie, New Zealand, I don't think. I think I've only traded it maybe 5 or 6 times my whole life, maybe 7. Is that I don't follow the New Zealand currency very much. You picked a good one for me. I mean, Mexican currency, Mexican peso, I don't follow it at all. And the New Zealand is a somewhat close second, sort of tied with the Swiss. I was big on trading the Euro Swiss until the peg came out at 1.2000 way back, that whole story. Didn't affect me, but I wasn't in any trades. But after that, I just avoid the Swiss franc and avoid the Mexican peso. I like the New Zealand here and there, we get into the news a little bit about their dairy industry and things like that, and it makes sense to me. I just don't trade it a lot. And when we looked at the overall strength meter, we had the Australian currency weak all the way across the board, right? All the way across. Boy, I'm looking sort of dark in here, aren't I? There we go. We had the Australian currency sort of weak all the way across the board, and the New Zealand and yen were also very weak. So just looking at it, commonsensically speaking, I guess you could say, from this momentum meter appearance, trading the two possibly weakest currencies against one another, could it be a good technical setup? Maybe. Could you make money with it? Maybe. But when you have two very weak currencies, I would rather trade a strong versus a weak. You got it. Technically, though, just looking at good old-fashioned technicals, possibly a decent area to be selling the Aussie New Zealand. Technically speaking. Just flipping through the monthly, the weekly, the daily. And as I do this, I'm looking for the overall trend, of course, looking for any patterns, head and shoulders, cup and handles, triple tops. I don't pull up my divergence template very often because after you look at it for years, you can get an idea of where the divergence is already. And then I pull it up for confirmation if we are going to take a divergence play. So if I had to pick a direction on Aussie New Zealand, I would take it to the south. I'd be looking to get short. That's my bias on it, but I'm not confident enough to get in it, so you can take that for what it's worth. Euro dollar was another one that we had a question on, so let's take a look at that. I like the euro dollar to the upside, actually. I was tempted to put a buy on it and decided to put it against the Canadian dollar instead. So I went long on the euro CAD instead of the euro USD. And we came right down into this, price area of possible support. We still have this huge gap, and we all know, I think at least most of you do, hopefully you do. And if you don't, you'll know now. I mean, the market does not like gaps like this. And almost always the gaps will come back and fill. Not always, but in the forex market, I mean, commodities and everything are different because there's, markets close every day and there's a lot of other details there. But with the forex market, most of the time, the market does not like gaps. So I'm assuming eventually sometime the euro dollar will come down, but I do like it to the upside more right now. If you had to take a trade on the euro dollar, I would pick it to the upside. Just be a little bit wary though, because if you pick a trade to the upside, you have to have your stops reasonably close unless you have a tiny order, which is fine. And if we start getting down into this area here, which is 108, let me just highlight this up so you can at least see it a little bit better. If we start pulling up into this area here on the euro, coming in somewhere in this range, just so you can see the numbers a little easier. 108.50, 108.23. If that does happen on the euro dollar, then I think we're going to continue to push up. So a possible trade plan is to be buying it here, expecting a little pullback, and then pushing up to new highs. Hopefully that will be the way I would like to see it play out, even though I'm not in this trade. But if we do break down to this area, I think we will see that gap filled on the euro dollar. And I think it would fill pretty quickly. Don't know if it's going to go, this quickly, but I think it would fill pretty quickly, at least get close to it. At the bare minimum, this gap here would fill down to 107.76, which is still, 50 pips or so down. So I favor this one to the upside. This is my trade plan to the upside if I had to pick one on the euro dollar. But I think this is pretty, if you look at different analysts and how they're looking at the market, I think this is pretty common knowledge. I think most traders are in agreement that the euro dollar should rise. We assume the dollar index will roll down a little bit. Most people, I think, that are analyzing the markets, but we don't know for sure. And if it turns, you have to be very prepared that if this we get knocking on the door of 108.23, 108.22, you could see a quick fall to the downside because traders have a definite eye on that gap for the euro dollar. And remember, the gaps are going to be a little bit different on different brokers. Some of the swing highs on these wicks and things after the market open could be 5, 10, 15 pips different from broker to broker. So just be safe on that. So yeah, I mean, saying could go up, could go down. I'm biased to the upside for sure. Yeah, you got it. Morphs has a little chart. Let's take a look what we got here. A buy on the dollar Mexican. Nice. I like how you put the trade numbers on there too. That's good. Thank you. 1878, 1887, 1908. Yeah, spread 79 pips. Definitely different numbers there. Cool. And what I like about that trade too, Morphs, is you got a really nice reward to risk. It looks like it's roughly 2.5 to 1 or so. Just eyeballing it real quickly. I don't have a TP on EuroCAD, Shea Baby. And the reason I don't have a take profit on it is I feel as if this currency pair, the EuroCAD, if it does push up, I think there's a lot of room to the upside. So I don't have a take profit on it. The 3 trades that I have running right now, the pound dollar long, the EuroCAD long, and the euro pound short, it's the only trade that I don't have a profit level on. Target wise though, I mean, there's just nothing up there. I mean, I think that it has a lot of potential. The reason when I was taking this trade last night in the Asian session live stream, the reason I don't have a take profit is number one, I think there's a lot of upward potential, and I can see myself possibly moving my stops up to roughly break even area and adding more orders and pyramiding into a larger order on the way up. The other reason is we have this, obscenely huge wick here on the daily, 500 pip wick, and this wick and all this price action, it's so far off. I mean, even this other one is 200 pips almost, 180 pips or so away. So my profit target is going to be quite far up on the EuroCAD. And I'm hoping if this EuroCAD trade does work out, that this will be a trade that we could stay in actually longer than usual, a few days, a week, maybe 2 weeks. It's going to really be very dependent on the Canadian news and how they deal with the import tax on lumber and the dairy industry. We're seeing Aussie dollar pushing down again after that retracement, that little retracement up, and we're still seeing the Euro Aussie pushing up pretty strongly here. Not sure if you got in on any of that. I didn't, but looks good. So I like EuroCAD up. I like Euro dollar up. I'm in the pound dollar long and also in Euro pound short. But remember, my Euro pound short is only about half the risk, a little under half my overall risk, because I'm not that certain about it. I'm still mixed on Euro pound, prefer it to the downside, but not confident enough to put a full size on. I do like silver and gold to the downside as well. It is good for a long-term trade. Yeah, right. I agree. Trump's comment can fill this gap. That's right. Trump's comment could do anything. I mean, Trump could move the whole markets with a simple tweet. You're exactly right. Crude oil inventories are going to be coming out in about 10 minutes, right on, J Money? You got it, minus G, no problem. AU short working nicely. You're short from 74.85. Nice job. Smelly Rat says, I think Euro Aussie be better long term than Aussie short. I agree. Generally speaking, in the last couple of months or so, now this is just a very broad statement. It's not meant to be, analyzed or anything, just broad statement. I've generally tried to avoid the dollar-based pairs a little bit more. I've been having more success in the crosses like the Euro Pound, the Euro Aussie, Euro CAD, except for yesterday, of course. The dollar is just very volatile at this time, and it always is. But it just, in my mind, I'm not perfectly decisive on which way the DXY is going to go because of the Tomahawk missiles into Syria randomly. That time I was doing my live stream. We got North Korea just like a pot about to bubble over. U.S. bringing more ships in there. We got Trump's tax stuff. We got him favoring a weaker dollar. I always have that little bit of uncertainty there, of course. The best trades in my mind are when you get your overall bias picked and you get a trade that goes in direction of that bias, of course. So, basically right now I like a weak Canadian dollar. I also like the weak Australian dollar, and the euro and the pound. I like both as stronger currencies, just like the momentum meter would show. Yen is obviously weak. The yen's a little bit dangerous. I think, intraday trading's totally fine. But if something does happen, say with North Korea, I think the first thing you're going to see is the yen pairs, the yen currency strengthen, bringing down the yen pairs impulsively like it did before, as well as a rise in gold and silver. Trump has too much influence on currency. You're right on. Copper. Steady 69, you're getting me with all the stuff I don't trade. I've never traded copper in my life. Never traded it. Nice job, Morphs. Aussie dollar daily. Beautiful trade. And another great reward to risk. I mean, this one looks even more. 3-1. Nice one. Kiani FX says next hour cable will be flying. I hope it does. If you're a new trader, cable is the sort of short-termer slang for the pound dollar. So there you have it, folks. I'm going to sign off for now, put a little daily update together, get some breakfast, and keep my day rolling. I'll be in the chat room this evening. I'm not doing a live stream tonight, but I'll be in the chat room this evening for sure. And I will see you there. Hope you have a great day. Be safe and make a lot of pips. Take care.